Departures by Tony Parsons. Read by Robin Bowerman. The midnight plain with its flying lights looks like an unloosed star, wandering west through the blue-black night to where the mountains are. Francis Frost, Night Plane. Chapter 1. The Green Plain. She was not a weak woman. As she stood at the window, watching the pale blue sky and looking back on her 29 years of life, Zoe could see no evidence that she was weak, timid, or what her 3 elder brothers would have sneeringly called a wuss. When a girl grows up heavily outnumbered by brothers, Zoe thought, she learns to take the knocks and never to let them see you cry, and always to be tougher than they expect. Zoe had done all that. And then, when her brothers were all grown up and gone and getting on with their lives, and she could have relaxed a little bit on the whole acting tough thing, she had spent a gap year wandering Asia alone. Her best friend meant to come, but she met a boy. It was that old story. Zoe had ridden a prehistoric rented motorbike from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City, shivered with dysentery in Mumbai, and, when the money ran out, Japan had been more expensive than she was anticipating, she had slept rough in a park in Kyoto while waiting for her parents to send her the fare to come home. I am not weak, she thought, so vehemently that she almost said it out loud. I'm not. But, as she stared at the sky, a small black line appeared against the perfect blue, as thin as a razor cut, and she felt her breath shorten and the sweat break out and the panic fly. It moved so slowly. Though the plane must have been going at, 500 miles an hour or so, it seemed to move in slow motion as it crossed the London skyline, and then languidly turned as if ready to meet its fate. Zoe was not a woman who scared easily, but Zoe was afraid of flying. Angel! She turned from the window to look at her husband. He was sitting at the kitchen table, their 3-year-old girl on his knees, attempting to keep her sticky little fingers away from the laptop in front of him. It says here, he said, that 25% of people have some fear of flying and around 10% have a real psychological phobia. But I'm not afraid of flying, Zoe insisted. In the silence, her husband, Nick, and their daughter, Skye, smiled at her sympathetically, as if forgiving her this blatant lie. Nick returned to the computer. Skye banged her small hands on the keyboard as if it was a toy piano. Nick gathered both of the child's hands in one of his own and pointed at the screen with an enthusiastic grin that somehow made Zoe's spirits sink. They do courses for people who, don't like to fly, he said. British Airways had a course called Fear of Flying. Please don't do that, darling. This to his daughter. And now they call it, Flying with Confidence. Zoe laughed bitterly. That's a smart move. Flying with confidence sounds a lot more positive than fear of bloody flying. Nick looked hurt. But that's a good thing, isn't it, to be positive about the aversion? That makes it sound irrational, she said. You make it sound irrational, all those hundreds of people locked inside a metal tube above the clouds. Maybe it's you that's crazy for not being a little bit worried. You ever think about that, Nick? Maybe it's you and the rest of the flying glee club. Maybe I'm the sane one. She turned back to the window. There were a few of them up there now. Their West London home was directly under a flight path, moving like deep black wounds in the sky. So slowly, as if they could fall at any moment. She wiped her hands on her jeans, and it all came back. The noises that sounded like the end of everything. The engines starting, that screaming sound that froze the blood. The suicidal dash to the end of the runway. The mad sensation of leaving solid ground, rising like the nausea in the pit of your stomach. And then, perhaps worst of all, the sound of the undercarriage being lifted, as final as the lid on your coffin slamming shut and the nails being banged in.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?